however, it was a while it lasted. But hello and welcome to the video, welcome to the recording. It is I, your Lord, your Master, your Savior, Mediaphile, and Happy Lisa. We are finally here. Summer solstice has arrived, and it is hot. It is hot. I had the message just taking all these clothes off and opening up a channel on OnlyFans. Oh my God, subscribe. I know, but I thought about all of it. And yes, you may have noticed something different. You are, in fact, seeing my illustrious magical hands. Yes, they are. But this may be the only time you see them because the next time it might be up your ass next time. So I'm just happy to be with all of you here today. I am so happy because not only is it a mark of a new point in our relationship, in our channel, but it's also the mark of a point of a new season. Summer has arrived. The solstice has arrived. We call it Solstice Celebrations or Solstice Celebrations, something like that. But it is a celebration of the return of the sun. That is what we call it for where I come from. But we are so happy. And first of all, I want you to forgive the very harsh lighting. My tools right now, I'm a bit, remiss. I am missing some of the things that I have, usually use for these sort of types of videos. And I sure hope that aside from the harsh light, I sure hope it can provide a rather brilliant contrast with what I have in the background. I usually would like to have these things lit because it provides a rather nice and ambient atmosphere. But unfortunately, the lighting and the cameras, all that stuff, it sort of matters, unfortunately. So it's something that I have to sort of deal with at the time, for the time anyway. So please forgive the harsh shadows and everything else, but I just had to film something because I was like, you know what? It is a summer solstice. Everyone did something for the day of. By this point, it might be, I don't know, maybe a couple of days past, but I wanted to show you that I am indeed keeping up with the times and, with the seasons and the festivities. So for all of those of you who are celebrating Litha, I welcome it into this day. I wish all of you the very best. May you have your merry feast, your dances, your orgies, whatever you want to call it. For those of you who are just doing happy that summer has arrived, where you can go out and do barbecuing, all these wonderful things, I implore all of you to go and do those things and be happy about it. Because honestly, life is a bit short and the season of summer even shorter for some of us, especially those of us who are going to a, establishment of learning. So there's that, that all of you have to sort of, come to deal with, come to grasp the terms with, is what I'm trying to say. But what I think I will do today is I was rather excited about it. Why? Because I was like, first of all, you get to see my lovely hands. But second of all, because we are in a time of celebration, a festival, a season of merriment, of debauchery, all the good things that make us feel even better inside. Now, should you do this safely? Yes. But I thought, you know what? A little bit of danger doesn't hurt anybody, Obviously, reckless endangerment is not okay with me in the slightest, especially because I have to say that because I am a professor at the University of the Academia of Magic, back where I come from. But here, I implore all of you to please be sure that you are taking your time wisely, spending it on learning, practicing your craft, and just embracing life in the many beautiful things it has to offer. So today, I will be sort of discussing the sort of merriments we do during our time, because I feel as though usually these videos are very, it's about, educational. I teach about certain things, concepts, practices, or whatever. But I thought, what? In commemoration, or perhaps that's not even the right word, in honor of the current holiday season, or I believe the festival that is upon us, I will be discussing certain things that we do during this time, during the festivities where I come from. There's certain things that some people probably do here that maybe some of you probably don't even know. And maybe I might play a few tunes, who knows, just to, pass the time along. But first, let me first preface this by saying, I welcome all of you to the channel. Newcomers, welcome. This is a safe space for us to discuss nearly anything. Our topics can be limitless as our answers. And honestly, I urge all of you to, just speak freely, embrace the strange, and welcome the mad, because I have plenty of it, and I am willing to share it with all of you. So this is something that I believe is very important. I want you to understand that what I do on this channel, I do so in jest, but with a little bit of truth in there. I sometimes throw things just into the fray, just to see how it happens. I like to, come up with jokes or say things from time to time, and please forgive me if maybe they come a bit, uncultured perhaps, but like I said, I come from a different place. But for those of you who are mad like me, understand my humor and understand the reasons why I say these things. So to all of you in the White House, I hope you shed your scales for this coming summer. It's going to be a scorcher. Oh my God, the season is rightfully so. First day of summer, easily over 80 degrees here, or that is approximately 20 or so degrees Celsius for those of you who are in Europe. I want to tell all of you, remind you all that it is quite hot here in the Americas. The weather here is insane. The amount of mana here is also insane, and it sort of manifests itself in very unpredictable ways. We've been hit with over 100 plus degrees. That'll be around, plus that will be a plus 30 degrees Celsius for all of you over there who weren't exactly too sure. On the day that these sort of things happen on summer, one of a really hot scorcher. It was not only hot outside, not a cloud in the sky, but the humidity was insane. So it made it absolutely worse. And I think a day or two prior to that, almost everyone's power went out because they were always trying to use all the, air conditioning units, things of that nature, because it did get rather hot and it was rather bad. But I'm happy that we are here, that we are in this new stage of my life. I had a birthday weekend. Hold on. A birthday weekend. You thought it was something extravagant. No, I can't. But no, it was rather nice. I recently turned, I believe it was 300 years old. I know, I don't look a day over 20. I am so youthful. But I am happy because, it is the next stage of my life, and I dared myself to be a bit more confident in the future, a bit more outright and honest with people. Not like I wasn't before, but my issue was that I cared too much. My empathy sort of gets in the way. And the last thing I want is for there to be any sort of, division or any sort of conflict between, loved ones or things like that. But I have to understand that I am in a growing process and I have to breach out of my shell. I have to go the distance, Wait, how's it go? Wait a minute. Something like that. Whatever. You get it. Whatever. I was in the zone. You have to admit it. I just got unconfident. It happens. But yes, I go the distance. That's what I wanted to do. And so I was like, you know what? I need to make some change this year. I was like, you know what? Once I turn 300 years old, that is the end of it. I'm tired of putting up with things that I don't longer agree with. Any sort of things, bullshit or even things of society anywhere. I was like, look, I'm my own person. I'm a well-learned person. I am versed in ways of cultures and in history. I have an understanding of these things. And so I have to understand that my life itself, though long for all of you, is rather short to me. Those of us who live, around 1,000 years old are considered living a long life, or even beyond that. It's a gift at that point. But I believe it is important for us to understand that, life has to go on and we have to proceed through life. We can't live in hesitation because you don't really know how long you really have until it's gone. When people say, for example, that, you have all the time in the world, that's not true. In a perfect world, you would. But there are many people that are dying well into their 20s, even before that. So what long time did they have? None. And so the time that they used up was used in preparation for a time that they no longer have. And so I sort of went into this predicament. I was like, well, I can't really wait anymore on anyone else, and I can't really wait for the sort of opportunities to just happen. I have to take them whenever they appear, and I have to make sure that I have time to do the things that I want to do. Anything could happen. I could be attacked by a griffin when I leave the house tomorrow. I have no idea what's going to happen. And so to tell me that I have all the time in the world, to tell me that there's no need to rush, to tell me that, my circumstances of life are fine, that I am, guaranteed sort of to, know how much time I have. I do not. Life is not a guarantee. This life is not a guarantee. Even the next life is not a guarantee either. The fact that you're alive right now, the fact that you understand what is going on, the fact that you, have the ability to act or do anything at all should be an indication to you that you should take advantage of the time you do have, that you know you have, because you don't know what lies beyond, and you don't know what will happen the day after tomorrow. We speak in confirmations. We're going to see you next Sunday. I'm going to go on a trip with my friends Sunday, and it's going to be a fun time. But as you've seen, that may have happened. Sometimes the trip gets canceled. Sometimes happens to a friend, or perhaps the weather's very bad. Life can be unpredictable in that manner. So you used up your time planning for this event that never happened. Hello, prophecy. A lot of these sort of things do tend to happen from time to time. And so it is quite interesting and fascinating when you consider the fact that so many people urge us to take our time, that we are still young. But, the concept of someone being young, to an extent, is sort of, what's the proper word for it? It's in the scope of whatever is perceived. It's young is only young. It's relativity. That's what I'm trying to say. To a 50-year-old person who I'm like 20 years younger, I'm still young. I still have time to make the changes they believe they could have also made during my time. But to someone who is perhaps half my age, 15, I'm already 30. To their mind, I should already have life figured out. I should be where I should be, or whatever, but I'm 300. But like I'm saying, I'm using that as an example for all of you to understand. For them, it's like, I should be at a point in my life where I have things figured out, that I should have my car, which I do. I should have my house, which I don't at the moment. I should have my job, which I technically do. And I should be set for life, because by the time you reach that age, that juncture in your time where you become an adult indicates where you should be throughout the entirety of your life. But that's not the case, because life is very unpredictable. But during this month of Litha, during this time of summer solstice, during this time of Resolusela, this is the time where we understand that the sun has returned, opportunity has returned to us, the time of energy has arrived, the time of light has arrived, new beginnings has arrived. During this time, people take vacations, they do sporting events, they take life by the balls, opportunities that they couldn't do during the winter. For the people that died during the winter through starvation or through hunting from other types of animals, they would have longed for a summer. They would have longed for a chance. And that is what the celebration sort of gives us. It gives us a new chance, an opportunity to re-welcome the energy, the youth, the opportunity we once had, or perhaps that we are seeking in order to set us up for the later part of our life. And so that is something very important. So, to go into the sort of things that we do for this sort of celebration, we have feasts, we have orgies, we have, dress-ups. Those are very nice. We have competitions and tourneys. And so during these tourneys, a lot of things are done. You have a lot of things like competitions. Yes, you have archery still. It is a thing. You have, magical prowess, which happens. And it is during the tourney that students from the academy or from any other sort of neighboring schools compete to show their magical prowess and their skills and applications in battle or in certain tests, or whatever, just to see where they're at, to see if the schools are doing their job, and to see whether or not the programs we have instilled in our school are in fact having the desired effect on our students. Okay? So, we have the celebrations, they take place, they sort of happen, and then after a while, it lasts for about a week or so. Sometimes it can last the entire month, I'm telling you. As long as this season is around, there is cause for celebrations, weekly celebrations. It is fantastic. It's a wonderful time. A time for revelry. Things like that. Just all the time you're just going and having a good time. And honestly, it is something that you need to understand, that, you need to just take life by the balls. Or by the cunt. I'm sorry. It just came out. But seriously though, you have to understand that, these sort of things do happen, and you do have to enjoy them, honestly, when it lasts. It is a time of celebration and festivities. So, one of my fondest memories, or I believe when I was attending one of these, sort of parties or festivals, was, I believe, how old was I? I was about 200 or so at the time. I know, long time ago for you, short for me. But I remember we had this tourney, and there was an old man there. And what he did was, he told us a story. He was a storyteller, because we have those at these sort of things. And during that time, there's shows, there's people acting it out, using magic. There's people, bringing out drinks and bringing out, things to eat as well. It's a story time, believe it or not, because these sort of things do happen. We don't really have things like we do nowadays, have things like, movies as you understand it. But there is something to be held about having a practical approach. So sort of like a Broadway musical, except without, so much music, but sometimes there is music in there. Things like that, and it sort of starts off, right? And it was a story as how, well, for example, it was how the first king came to be. So legend has it that, after, the world was done, everything else, blah, 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 there are a lot of civilizations that were met. So it is said, and this is a story of Kumra, the founder of Olma, which is the chief city in Antisha. And as the legend goes, thousands of years ago, there was a giant creature, like the size of a mountain. I forgot what the proper name of it was. There were nations that were separate, different cities throughout the entire land, And so this thing was ravaging each countryside and each city. It was like, and hardly anything could stop it. And so one day, there came a young man, not too young, about in his 30s at the time, whose name was Kumra. Kumra was a young man who was trained in the ways of, arts and folks and all that sort of thing. He was very artsy in nature, not someone you would predict. But he was mildly skilled in things like, in speaking or things of that nature. He himself didn't really have a strong arm or a strong body, things of that nature. He wasn't exactly particularly skilled in, using swords or using arrows or things of that kind. He wasn't a warrior, as you understand it, but he was a bard. He was the type of person that everyone liked, that everyone could see, But he was a person that extremely cared about his people, that cared about the dynamics and diplomacy, and that cared about the politics that happened in the land. Because unfortunately, during that time, there were certain rulers or judges at that point, or magistrates, as you would like to call them, that, didn't do the best. And so during that time, magic was still very young and it was potent. But it was believed that this giant creature was a product of the negative energy that the people or that the leaders outfitted, and it sort of polluted the landscape. And so over time, this sort of energy had built up and it sort of manifested itself in this giant creature, a golem or something of that kind. And it sort of rose up, and as it passed through the different cities throughout the entire land, it would leave thousands of casualties in its wake. And so upon the anticipation of this great beast coming forth, one of the largest cities, Alma, at that time, noticed that something had to be done. A unification of the nation had to be presented, and it had to be completed in order for them to stand a chance. But there was no one that no one actually liked or that knew about, except for one, Kumra. Kumra was a young man. He was, like I said, he was in his 20s, a bit older, possibly 30s, or things of that nature. And he was a person that everyone knew and admired. So the leaders of that thing had invited Kumra to have talks with him, noticing that he was a person that was somewhat savvy, not only in diplomacy, but in matters of politics. And so they would speak to him. And he had such a charisma, he had such a charm, that he had captivated the entire room, save for perhaps a few people who were perhaps, sort of savvy into his sort of work. They noticed, you as a bard, what sort of experience do you have in matters of leadership? What could you possibly offer us? But he said, unlike all of you with your politics, with your attitudes, with your war, with your differences, my craft, my personality, my love for the people has united them under my banner. They love the things I do, and I love them for who they are. I accept them and they accept me. And if I have their approval, I can do anything. I can do anything. And so I'm paraphrasing it, okay? But it said that some of them were shocked by his declaration, that he sort of had the sway that all of them craved, but none of them had. And he was no leader, but he was a leader in the hearts and the minds of the children, in the adults, in the elderly, because he told stories, he acted things out, and he spoke with a type of confidence, with a type of integrity that was unprecedented in a person of his age. And so during that time, he accumulated a vast following. And so he noticed, and he would travel to and from each city. understanding the struggles that one person went through the other one. Each one, and he had left his name in each city. Every person that heard of the name Qumran spoke with it positively, and they spoke of it with hope, because in times of stress and in times of darkness, Qumran was the light that showed. He would go into these towns, and if they're all in a state of decay, in a state of darkness, he would be the light that would brighten up their existence. He'd bring stories, he'd bring plays, he'd bring dances, songs, artistry. He brought things that lifted people's spirits, even jokes, and he would poke jests. And so it was during this time that Qumran came up, and the people sort of talked about. We heard rumors that there is a talk for a new magistrate, a new representative of the people. We nominate Qumran. He's been here for everyone. Everyone knows him, and he knows matters of office. He is the person that we need because he understands us. He's been there with us. Because legend says that Qumran grew up in some of those outer cities by the harbors. The ones that would seek a lot of, mercantile attention, that would seek inspiration from other lands. But some of these cities, unfortunately, were subjugated by oppressive, masters that would sort of, manipulate the market to benefit themselves and their workers to little of extra effect. And so what they did is that, the new things that they imposed on the residents of their towns with things like higher taxes, lesser food sometimes in the winter, so that, it can either, feed their workers or perhaps feed their interests or their clients or be used for resources. And so he didn't like that sort of thing. And so, there were rumors that he would go around. He did the whole Robin Hood act for a bit, but they noticed that he was rather skilled in matters of music. And it is said that when he was captured aboard a ship for interrogation, he had with him a recorder or a flute of some kind. And they say, are you some sort of bard? Play us a tune, And so he would play these tunes, and they would start to, bob around a little bit. The commanding officer would tell them to stop. But at a certain point length of time, they sort of admired his charisma. The songs he would say, he would start saying jokes. They'd say, give us a joke. And he'd make them laugh every time. He had the gift of gab. His magic was music. His magic was art. His magic was dance. All of these things that we take for granted, but that have a very great effect, were his power, were his forte, or were his fort. And so he sort of used these things to sort of open their eyes to what he's able to do. And he was even able to sway them. He had the gift of gab, the gift of hands, the gift of, all of those sorts of things he had with him. He was a complete package for a bard. But he wasn't the most imposing looking figure as they all sort of sought out from warlords or from chieftains or even from leaders of other governing nations. But they sought him because he wasn't the leader of the body. He wasn't the leader of the mind. He was the leader of the heart, of the soul, which is what mattered within our nation of Antisha, which is what mattered in cities like Alma, who is named after the heart of Antisha. It embodies every aspect of our life, every aspect of our being, the culmination of all of our emotions. So it is said that he rallied all of these nations under his banner. And through his leadership, through his, consulting with other generals and people that shared in his endeavors, that shared in his dreams, that shared in his interests, they amassed a giant army, legions and legions upon mages and warriors, to wage war against the giant golem. And so they fought, and so they would use summoning, and they would do everything in their power to take this creature down. And so it is said that each city that rallied behind Qumran's banner was known as a stone. And there were a total of 5 stones. And each of these stones were known as the stones of Qumran because they rallied under his banner, because he was the leader that was worthy enough for their trust and for their adoration. And so his charisma was able to lead the troops into battle as he played them tunes and notes to incur valor, to incur strength, to incur inspiration that gives them the edge in battle, the manner that they needed. He supplied it. And so through this struggle, through this great war, they were finally able to still the beast, to destroy it. And it became little more than a mountain after that. And after that point, they anointed him as the sovereign leader of the nation. Not for matters of politics, not for matters of war, but for matters of heart, because that is what the people needed. And that is what ended up winning throughout the day. It was in his victory that the soul won, that the heart won. And that is why that his palace, his kingdom is within Alma, because Alma is the soul of Antisha, where the heart resides. And it is in commemoration of this event that takes place every solstice, because it is a return of that heat, of that power, of the light in the darkness that we celebrate Kumra and all that he did for us with arts, with festivals, with feasts, with all of these things that brought wonder, amazement, and merriment to a rather dark time. That is the reason why my country celebrates Litha, celebrates the solstice, and encourages everyone to participate in matters of festivities. It is a lot of things that all of us are sort of going through and celebrating. Each one celebrates it differently. The point is that you celebrate, that you have a good time, that you understand that life itself is fleeting and it is short. And Kumra, who wasn't truly a mage by any extent, but a bard nonetheless, whose magic, inerrant in manner, was able to affect a vast change, He wasn't powerful like mages were. He wasn't powerful like how warriors are with a strong arm. He was simply a normal person who liked music, who liked the arts, who was able to impart a change. That is why the most influential people of our time are celebrities. Musicians, singers, actors. They are stars. Why? Because they bring light to our darkness. The movies that uplift us, the songs that inspire us, the plays and even the chefs that make the food that give us nourishment throughout the day. All of these people, not a one of them are warriors, not a one of them are politicians or anything of that nature. They're not known for their magic. They're not known for their physical power. They are known for their heart, their soul, because that is what is infectious. That is what inspires change and inspiration in all the people. So I encourage all of you to sort of do these things. But that is one such thing that I remember till this day, because the person that spoke with it with such intensity, with such inspiration. Nearly people were in tears, rising up by the end of it, Something like that, whatever. I'm trying, whatever. The point is, it is an awesome time, It needs to be cleaned up a bit. But, like I said, it is a time of merriment, of celebration, If you have tambourines, play them. If you have keys, play them. If you have balls, play them too. Have a wonderful time for this wonderful occasion. So, without further more delay, I want to thank all of you for being here. I hope all of you have enjoyed that story of Kumra, our founder, and to where we rally behind. Notice that during this time of Lith, I want you all to understand that it is a time of festivals, a time of celebration, a welcoming of the sun, of the light, after, months of darkness within the winter. During that time in the ancient times, or, rather far back, people didn't have what we have today, homes to live in, lights, fires, heat, technology. Some of them didn't even have homes at the time, and some of them were living in the most darkest of places during winter, the coldest places, in woods, out in the open, on the prairies, within the snow. And sort of any kind of music, any kind of feast and festivity that they had gave them hope, gave them a hope for the return of what they had lost, of what they experienced. And it is with great commemoration, great vigor, and great intention that they do all these sort of celebrations. And it is something that I urge all of you to do, and I urge all of you to participate in. So without further more delay, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope all of you have enjoyed that story, that you enjoy what I'm telling you, that you are receiving this, that you were able to, have fun during this time. If you have criticisms of what I'm playing, tell me what it is. I sort of this came out of nowhere. I have other songs I play. If you would like to hear other different songs, and remind me, I do practice and I do play them. But like I said, with instruments like this is a cheap one, aside from the sound. If you don't clean it, the saliva gets up in there, and I have not been cleaning it, so it does weird noises and things of that nature. But if you can forgive that, I obviously, just have a good time, If you want to play jugs, do it. You want to roast, do it. If you want to, wet your whistle, do it too. Because someone will blow it for you. And, but make sure you clean it. And you know what? And remember that during this time, you don't know how much time you have left. So I urge all of you to sort of take this time. You don't know if you'll have another summer. You don't know if you have another spring or winter, whatever it is. You have to take advantage of this time. Be happy. Be with people that make you happy, that are happy that you are with them. That sort of do things, amazing things. Don't be locked in the past. Don't be locked within winter's dark, cold grasp. Don't be locked within, maybes or shouldas or couldas. Don't be locked within that mindset. Of course, always prepare for the best, but take advantage of the time and do the best while you still can. Do the best in preparation for the best. You know? Do your festivals, do your concerts, especially now that COVID and everything is, whatever. No one gives a shit anymore. Everyone's going out, having a good time. I urge all of you to do the same thing. If you're concerned with safety, take your precautions, but do not let these moments pass. You don't know when the next one will be. So I urge all of you to have a good time and to have a merry solstice. Okay? Goodbye! Wait a minute. There we go.